I love the energy in the room. Everyone is so excited to be here, and we are so excited to have you here. If you want to find your seats, I have a just brief introduction, and then we'll open with a prayer. No, really? Hi. Welcome, everyone. Oh, we are so excited you guys are all here. Look at this room. I mean, this is the most people we've ever had at a benefit dinner for Palouse Care Network. Thank you. Thank you all for showing up, for coming out, for making time to be here. Support this amazing ministry, the work of Palouse Care Network. You know, we could not do any of the work we do without you, without your support. And it's the work that God has called us here to do. And so we just take a moment to give him praise and glory for the ministry that he has called us all to be a part of. And so my name is Matthew Couch. I'm the development coordinator for Palouse Care Network, and it is my honor and privilege to welcome you all this evening. Like I said, this is a record turnout for our event, and so we are just so thankful to have you all here. Before we get started, I'm just curious, how many of you is this your first benefit dinner for Palouse Care Network? Just raise your hand. Yeah, wow. That's amazing. Welcome, extra special welcome to all of you. Thank you to those who invited them to get them here this evening. How many of you have been to 2 or more? Okay, about the other half. Yeah, that makes sense, yeah. How about five or more? Okay. 10 or more? I'm not asking you to date yourself, but and we don't even know, I'm not sure, I could ask Ed how many dinners we've had. We haven't gone back and counted, but I think it's been quite a few. So thank you to everyone for being here tonight. Well, it's my privilege also to welcome Father Chase Hasenroll from St. Augustine's in Moscow to open us in prayer this evening, and then I'll have the dismissal of the tables for food after that. So please welcome Father Chase.
Thank you, Matt. Before I say the prayer for our meal, I just want to really thank Amy and all of Palouse CareNet. I've worked in campus ministry at the University of Idaho for the last 10 years, so I see a lot of at-risk young women and couples that are very much in need of what Palouse CareNet is doing. And so it's such a blessing to be able to have a safe place, a respectful place to send them to. So thank you. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Lord, we thank you for the many blessings that you bestow upon us in life. You are the giver of all good things. We ask that you bless the food that we're about to eat, but also our families and those women that are most at risk. Allow them to see the beauty of life. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
All right, thank you, Father. So let's see if I can get to we have some instructions for the dinner this evening to help things go smoothly and efficiently. There's that. All right, there we go. Okay. All right, listen up so you can get all the directions, and this will help it facilitate very smoothly. So it's on the screens, but the main menu is available in all lines, okay? There's 3 rows of tables. You can go in each side of the table can have a line. So there's 6 lines total. Okay, so the main menu is available in all 6 lines. If you're a vegetarian, your food will be on the middle table. So the middle 2 lines will be the vegetarian option. However, if you're not vegetarian, you can still go to that table. Gluten-free options are available in all the lines, and everything should be clearly marked for any dietary needs. Coffee is available, as well as, I think, tea in the lobby. And then conversation starters. Okay, so you guys, on your table, there's little cards for conversation starters. So if you're waiting to get in line for food, or after you finished your meal, those are some kind of prompts to have a conversation, to get to know your guests. There's a lot of new people at the dinner this year, and so a great opportunity to talk about Palouse Care Network and how you guys have all been connected. So with that, I would like to dismiss tables 1 through 10. 1 through 10, you can go to get your food, and then I'll come around and dismiss after that as the line allows. All right, everyone, enjoy the conversation. We'll see you in a bit.
I see that.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you to everyone for being here. My name is Ethan Adams. I'm a member of the board of Palouse Care Network. And on behalf of the board, I'd like to welcome you to this evening's proceedings. I happen to be the new guy on the board, and I think that's why I got this job. So, would the board members please stand so that you can see who they are? We don't have everyone in the room this evening, but there's... Would you join me in... Thank you. So I've had the privilege of working with these people for almost 2 years now, and I've been really impressed with this group of people. They are excellent stewards of the generous support that you all provide, and they do a great job of keeping Palouse Care Network on task and on mission. I'd also like to thank our underwriters. Because of their financial support, the meal is paid for, and so all of your generous gifts this evening will go directly to the work of PCN. And I'd like to just tell you a little bit about what PCN means to me. I have been mostly a donor over the years, and didn't know as much about it until I was invited on the board, but that's only increased my passion for PCN. What I really love about PCN is that while it's important to get the message out that life should be preserved, I think it's also important to realize that people would not be in the position to question that unless they were at their wits' end and in dire need. And PCN doesn't just tell people to choose life, they also make it possible. And that's only possible through your generous donations, and we thank you very much for that. So without further ado, enjoy.
A registered nurse and the Center Director for Palouse Care Network and Wish Medical Women's Health. I'm super excited to be out here providing free pregnancy tests and ultrasound services to women considering a pregnancy decision. Let's take a look inside our mobile medical clinic. This is the seating area for our patient, our client advocate, and the nurse. Up here we've got the television screen where she can view her ultrasound. And over here, we do have a security camera system as well. Here's our exam table. Here's our portable ultrasound machine. And behind me, there's a bathroom as well.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm the Advocacy Coordinator for Wish Medical Women's Health. And I'm really excited about this new ministry. It's a way to expand our reach to women who could truly use help in time of crisis and uncertainty. My heart is that we do this with a spirit of excellence and truly show the face of Christ to every woman that we meet on the sidewalk or talk to in our mobile clinic.
Hi, I'm Amy McNally, CEO of Palouse Care Network. And a number of months ago, a woman went to the Planned Parenthood in Pullman and took the abortion pill. About 6 weeks later, she came to see us, and when she met with our nurse, she said, "I wish I had known there was a place like this that could have helped me." And we knew from that moment on that we wanted to make sure there wasn't another woman in our community who chose abortion because she didn't know that there were people and an organization that would reach out to her with compassion and resources and help her with her unplanned pregnancy. It's been amazing to watch God open door after door and lead us to this place where we never thought we would be, where we have now launched an incredible mobile clinic and sidewalk advocacy program. We are excited to see what happens as we encounter women on the sidewalk, and none of it would be possible without the amazing donors and staff and volunteers who have shared their time and their financial resources and who have stretched their faith to help us follow God's call and reach out to our community in this way. So thank you. Well, good evening. Thank you again so much for being here tonight. Most important question, did everybody get dessert? Yes? Okay. I had a moment of panic because we do have the largest crowd we've ever had, and I was afraid we weren't going to have enough dessert for everyone, and if you're going to run short on something, that's not the thing to run short on, and so I'm glad our amazing caterers came through for us. SEL has been really wonderful, too, in accommodating extra tables and seating for all of you. We are just so grateful to have you with us tonight. We have so much to celebrate tonight, and I am thrilled to be able to share with you what God has been doing through Palouse Care Network this past year. As you just saw, we just 6 weeks ago were able to launch a brand new mobile clinic and sidewalk advocacy outreach through the generosity of donors and the grace of God. And as I shared in the video, this was really born out of our staff and our donors' heart that we would really follow God's call and meet women where they were with life-affirming care. Meet her where she is the theme of our dinner tonight. And it's a theme that has been motivating our team for the past year. And it's a theme that was inspired by Jesus' encounter with the Samaritan woman at the well. You see, Jesus didn't wait for the woman at the well to come and find him teaching in the synagogue. Jesus went to where she was, at the well, at midday, alone. The woman at the well was a Samaritan, despised by the Jews, and she had been married 5 times and was now with another man, and was then looked down upon by her own community. And Jesus, because she felt ostracized and shamed, knew that she wasn't going with the other women. In the morning, in the cool of the day, she was choosing to go there alone. And so he met her where she was. This past year, we began to see a whole string of women who had recently had abortions and then had come to see us afterward. They were filled with regret and shame and loss in the aftermath. Their stories were heartbreaking. And although we had been trying in a number of ways to be able to connect with women who were abortion vulnerable, we just weren't reaching that many. And yet we knew that God was calling us to serve women who were facing unplanned pregnancies in our community. And so we began to pray. As a staff, we began to ask God what he might be calling us to do in order to reach more. We prayed daily that God would help us to hear what he was calling us to do, and that then he would give us the courage to follow him, no matter the cost. And we realized that if we wanted to be able to offer compassionate alternatives to women who were seeking abortion, then we were going to need to go where they were. And we knew that where they were was at Planned Parenthood. But were we willing to go there? People might misunderstand our motives or spread false rumors about us or be offended by what we were doing. As a lifelong people pleaser, that didn't sound very fun to me. But Jesus was willing to endure the scandal of speaking with the Samaritan woman, and he was willing to endure the humiliation of the cross. He went to the Samaritan woman because he loved her, and he was willing to endure the humiliation of the cross because he loved us. And so were we willing to pick up our crosses and follow him in order to love the woman at Planned Parenthood? Our incredible staff said yes. And so at this time, I would like to invite forward the staff of Palouse Care Network, because I want you to get to see the faces of these amazing people who day after day meet women where they are. These staff members have prayed and trained and stretched themselves to go places they never thought that they would go in order to care for women and children and unborn children in our community. From the moment a client is greeted by a receptionist or a sidewalk advocate, these people are offering warmth and compassion and professionalism and care. They pray for clients before we even meet them, and then they are offering follow-up care after they leave. These people are my heroes, and I'm so excited that we get to celebrate them tonight. So I've told them all they have to do is raise their hand when I call their name, and then we're going to applaud for you all at the end. So Haley Grove, Financial Administrator. Matthew Couch, Development Coordinator. Sarah Knight, Office Manager. Kathleen Richter, Parent Resource Coordinator. Shelley Schemmer, Assistant Parent Resource Coordinator. Jolene Henderson, Registered Nurse. Sarah Jennings, Advocacy Coordinator and Educator. Sherry Good, Receptionist and Advocate. Harley Wormgoor, Receptionist. Chloe Matson, WSU Campus Intern. Vivian Jabreen, U of I Campus Intern. Carissa Herring, Outreach Coordinator. Kaylee Sawicki, Assistant Outreach Coordinator. And Leanne Robertson, Registered Nurse and Center Director. All of our staff members are wearing name tags tonight because I wanted you to be able to easily identify them and thank them and ask them to share with you a story of what they have seen God do through PCN this year. And now at this time, I would like to invite all of our volunteers to please stand. Those of you who volunteer both in our center and out on the sidewalk, these people are also amazing, selfless servants. We could not do what we do without them. We have about 20 volunteers who come in every single week and volunteer their time, and we are so very grateful. So thank you. Thank you, staff. Thank you, volunteers. If you would like to join our team, or if you know someone who you think would be a good fit, we are hiring. We are currently looking for a provider. We have been so full with our medical needs that we've been booked out a couple of weeks in advance, and we really need some additional provider help. So we're looking for someone who could give us 4 to 16 hours per week, a nurse practitioner, a physician's assistant, or an MD. And if you want more details, you can find that on our website. As we began to feel that God was calling us to launch a mobile clinic and sidewalk advocacy outreach, we had just one small problem. We didn't have a mobile clinic. And it just so happened that in the entire country, there was one that was available in North Dakota. But then we had a second problem. We didn't have any money to pay for it. So I prayed, Lord, if you want us to do this thing, then you're going to have to provide the funding for this mobile clinic. The very first donor that we met with to inquire if this donor might be interested in helping to support the mobile clinic didn't even let me get all the way to the ask before interrupting me and offering to pay for the entire thing. I know. Amazing. The next donor that we met with agreed to pay for the entire cost of the ultrasound machine to go inside. So again, thank you. And then an incredible organization called Save the Storks helped us to design a vinyl wrap to go around on the outside of it that you'll see there. It used to be red, and now it has our awesome Wish coloring and branding on there. And then they gave us a grant to pay for the entire cost of it. And so we were amazed, and yet we shouldn't be, because God is always faithful to give us what we need to do the work that He has called us to do. As we then were preparing for encountering women outside of Planned Parenthood, we knew that we wanted to do it in a way that was consistent with who we are as an organization. We wanted to do it in a way that was compassionate and prayerful and peaceful and invitational. And so we partnered with Sidewalk Advocates for Life, another incredible organization who trained us how to do sidewalk advocacy in just that manner. Sidewalk Advocates for Life has trained teams all across the country to help redirect over 22,000 women away from abortion facilities and to life-affirming care. They've also, their presence has helped over 55 abortion facilities close, and they've also helped over 99 abortion workers be able to leave the abortion industry. And that is, yeah, amen, it's wonderful. Our heart, too, is to be able to build a relationship of care with the workers at Planned Parenthood as we are there. So our sidewalk advocates, they wave and smile at absolutely everybody who drives by. And our hope is really that everyone in our community will be able to see the light and love of Christ in us as we are there. We are not there to be political or to protest, but to truly encounter each woman that we meet with compassion and dignity and true help. Sorry, I lost my place. We let every woman know, as we're encountering them outside of Planned Parenthood, that we are there offering free pregnancy tests and free ultrasounds and free STI tests, and then we invite them to board our mobile clinic. We also hand each woman a gift bag. And you can see samples of this on your tables. We put a couple of them out there for you to see. For those of you who don't know, these have our Wish Medical Women's Health name on them because Wish Medical Women's Health is the name of the medical clinic that is operated by Palouse Care Network. And so inside the gift bags, we have candy and lip gloss and an inspirational sticker and then informational literature about our services for each woman. So far, we have interacted with over 250 people outside of Planned Parenthood and had several women board our mobile clinic. And could you do a raise of hands? How many of you have seen us out there? Lots of you. I just want to say a huge thank you to those of you who have smiled or waved or stopped and said an encouraging word or brought us hot chocolate. We do get our fair share of colorful language and gestures from time to time, and you do not know how much your simple gestures of kindness bless and encourage us, so please keep it up, and thank you. So the literature that is inside each of those gift bags also gives women information about abortion pill reversal. Which many women don't even know exists, and it's hard for us to get the word out about it because Google will not allow us to advertise about it in our Google ads. So women can purchase the abortion pill at the Planned Parenthood here in Pullman, and we are thrilled that we now have the ability to get this literature into their hands so that if they want to change their mind after having taken the abortion pill, they know how to do that. In a nutshell, abortion pill reversal is a large dose of progesterone, a natural hormone occurring in a woman's body, a large dose of that, which if taken within 72 hours of just having ingested the first abortion pill, can reverse its effects and give a woman a 64 to 68% chance of carrying that pregnancy to term. And so now that we are outside of Planned Parenthood, we can hand her that gift bag, and even if she doesn't open the gift bag, you can see on the back side of it, you can see through that clear plastic all of that information about abortion pill reversal. If you're unfamiliar with abortion pill reversal, I encourage you to learn more about it. I want everyone to know about it because you never know when you may know someone who needs to know about it quickly. And so we do have brochures about it at our resource table at the end of the event tonight, and you can also go to abortionpillreversal.com to learn more. As a side note, I am really thrilled to tell you that for the first time ever, our medical director, Dr. Larry Brown, was able to prescribe the abortion pill protocol for a woman just a few weeks ago. And today, we got an update that she is now 9 weeks pregnant, and her baby has a beating heart, and I am just so excited. So, yes. Please keep that mama and her baby in your prayers. You know, our mobile clinic isn't the only way that we are seeking to meet her where she is. In the past year, we have met women where they are in over 2,127, to be exact, resource visits. Those are visits for things like parenting classes and single moms group and car seat checks and resource intakes and resource shopping and individual education. Over and over and over again, when women come in and are able to receive all kinds of free items, and learn that they are receiving those items, the diapers and the clothing and the strollers and the cribs and the high chairs and more, that they are receiving those items for free because they have been donated by you, the generous people of this community. They are overwhelmed with gratitude. So thank you for making that possible. We have also continued to work to meet her where she is online. More and more women are making choices and gathering their information online. And so we know that we have to continue to improve our outreach online. This year we worked with a fantastic new marketing company that helped us to redesign our Wish Medical Women's Health website and also our Google ads to better connect with women who are facing unplanned pregnancies. We also partnered with HopeSync and Infinite Worth to create a pop-up feature on our landing page of our Google Ads and on our website. You can see it on the bottom corner of that computer screen. It just looks like a little nurse face and a chat bubble. This enables clients to chat with a nurse 24 hours a day. And we've recently had a number of women who were considering abortion schedule appointments with us through this online chat feature. We were also meeting her where she is online through our Facebook and Instagram posts. Our outreach coordinator and campus interns have done a fantastic job of creating top-notch social media, and they have doubled the number of followers that we have on social media this past year. And in a region with 30,000 college students, we know that it is so important for us to meet her where she is on the college campuses. And so we are really thrilled that we have campus interns who run registered student organizations on both the WSU and U of I campuses. And a number of our RSO students are here tonight. Can you raise your hands, RSO students? We're so thrilled and thankful for you. This enables us to table on campus as Wish Medical Women's Health, and they are able to interact with thousands of students. We're able to speak in dorms and sororities, and to be able to hand out literature and even free pregnancy tests on campus. And in fact, just recently, we had a college student who took a free pregnancy test off of our table on campus and went home, took the test later, and when it was positive, she then scheduled an appointment with us because if you look up at the screen, it doesn't look like a pregnancy test, but that is actually the little pouch that our pregnancy test strips come in, and stapled to it is the instructions for the test and our contact information. And so when her test turned positive, she then contacted us and scheduled an appointment. When she came in for her appointment, she was a pretty overwhelmed 18-year-old and pretty determined that she was going to get an abortion. She was met with a lot of compassion and encouragement from our team. And she ended up coming back a few days later in order to get an ultrasound. And at that time, she told us that she had taken the words of our advocate to heart, and she was planning to parent. And so thank God for that pregnancy test on that table on campus, and thank God for our amazing team who loves women so well. Yeah. Thanks to a grant we received from New Life on the Palouse, we were also able to meet her where she is through our first ever Wish Women's Dinner for college students. And so we had 76 college women in attendance from over 8 different campus ministries. We were super thrilled to be able to tell them about our services. Many of them scheduled appointments with us afterwards. And then they were equipped with information to be able to go back to their friends and their acquaintances and let them know when they know someone who is in need of any of our services. We've also discovered that something as simple as a sandwich board can help us to meet her where she is. 2 weeks ago, a young woman walked into our center at the end of the day asking for a pregnancy test. She told us that she walked by our sandwich board every day on her way to and from work. It's a sandwich board that said free pregnancy tests and ultrasounds. And so when she discovered that she was pregnant, she knew that this was the place for her to come. And as she met with our advocate, she told our advocate that she was considering abortion. Our nurse was then able to give her an ultrasound, and she was able to see the tiny little flickering heartbeat of her baby. And as she left that day, she told our nurse that she had decided to parent. Thank God for sandwich boards. Friends, God has overwhelmed us with his goodness. In the last 6 weeks, he has opened the floodgates, and we have been seeing more clients than we have ever seen. It's just truly astounding. It's what we longed for and prayed for, and they are coming. We just compared our stats from this last 6-week period to that same 6-week period a year ago. And we have tripled the number of pregnancy test appointments that we have, and we have quadrupled the number of women considering abortion that we are seeing. I mean, thanks be to God. I really cannot quite wrap my head around it. And when people ask me, so what's the reason? And I just have to say, it is the grace of God. I mean, we have been asking and we have been trying things, and yet when God decides to move, he moves. And we are so grateful. God is the one who placed the vision in our hearts to reach these women who are considering abortion and to reach their unborn children. And he has been faithful to equip us with what we need in order to serve them. So we are so very grateful. Well, where do we go next? Where do we go next in our efforts to reach women where they are? You know, our team is committed to telling every single woman that we meet with that we will be there with her every step of the way. That we might not know necessarily the answers to all of the obstacles that she is facing, but we promise that we will accompany her as we figure it out together. And I am grateful that we are able to offer so many incredible resources to the women in our community who are in need. But for some of them, they need more. When they don't have a place to live, when they don't know how they're going to pay their bills as it is, they don't see how it's possible for them to have a baby. But what if maternity housing could make the difference for a woman considering abortion? As you know, the cost of living has skyrocketed, and housing is a huge issue within our community. Leanne and I had the privilege of traveling to Wisconsin to visit a pregnancy center there that is thriving and that is currently operating 2 maternity centers. And I came back excited. Our board and I are really intrigued by the possibility of maternity housing here on the Palouse. And so, we invite you to pray with us to see if this is indeed what God is calling us to do next in order to meet her where she is. And if you have a house you'd like to give us, we would take that too. So thank you. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your prayers. I really mean it when I say we could not do this without you. I wish you could be with our staff as we pray each morning at the beginning of the workday and hear the prayers of gratitude. They pray for you and your generosity because it's what enables us to meet these women where they are. And I just can't wait until next year when we get to celebrate what God has done next. So now, it is my pleasure to get to introduce our speaker for this evening. A year and a half ago, 4 of us got to travel to the Heartbeat International Conference. It's the largest conference of pregnancy help organizations in the world, and about 1,500 people gather each year. And we were particularly moved when we went a year and a half ago by a keynote address given by Dr. Calum Miller. Not only because the data that he presented was really fascinating and compelling, but also because he was just a really witty and charming human being. And so many months ago then, when we started talking about who we wanted to invite to come be the speaker at our benefit dinner, someone suggested Calum Miller. And I said, there's no way that anybody is going to fly all the way from England, because that's where he's from, Oxford, England. Nobody's going to fly all the way from England to come to the Moscow, Idaho, Pullman, Washington Pregnancy Center dinner. But sure, it doesn't hurt to ask. And the next thing I know, Matthew is coming into my office and saying, Dr. Miller says he'd be delighted to come. And so friends, this is how we know that our God is a God of miracles, because here he is. Dr. Calum Miller graduated from the University of Oxford Medical School in 2015 and currently works as a medical doctor in the UK. As a researcher at the University of Oxford, he published over 30 academic papers in medicine, law, philosophy, and ethics. He also holds a master's degree with distinction in biblical studies. Dr. Miller has given over 40 academic presentations internationally and taken part in multiple debates against the CEO of the UK's largest private abortion provider. He has published in top academic venues on a variety of topics, including maternal mortality in the developing world, the ethics of voting on abortion, animal and fetal pain, abortion and mental health, telemedicine abortion, academic freedom, and the philosophy of religion. He has received prizes from the University of Oxford and the Royal College of Psychiatrists for his work on bioethics. Dr. Miller has presented to a wide range of professionals and parliamentarians around the world. He regularly appears in mainstream media in the UK and has been invited to speak to various professional groups, including the Association of Obstetricians and Gynecologists of Uganda. He is currently working on 3 books on the topic of abortion. And now he has reached the pinnacle of his career by coming to the Palouse Care Network dinner. So, it is my immense honor to get to welcome Dr. Calum Miller to speak to us tonight.
Well, thank you for that very kind introduction, and thank you. I'm amazed at how many people have turned out. There are probably more people in this room than there are pro-life people in my country, so it's really, really a special moment. It's great to be here, especially in my 3rd favorite country in the world, after England and Texas. Now, I normally get a lot of questions, and it's usually the same questions. And so I wanted to just make it easier for you and make it easier for me just by getting some of them out of the way to begin with. So, yes, I do watch soccer. We call it football, and my team is Chelsea, the team that Christian Pulisic played for, if anyone here watches soccer. I know not many people do. Yes, I supported Brexit, and yes, our country is still doing okay after Brexit, so you can stop worrying. No, I've never been to Hogwarts, and I've never met Harry Potter. They're actually not real, surprisingly. And no, I'm not a hobbit, I'm just short. I obviously loved the late Queen of England. Everyone in my country does. And no, I don't like Harry and Meghan because no one does. And finally, no, I don't know who Doogie Howser is. But yes, that question does date you because that show ended when I was 1 year old. So I hope that gets things sorted. I want to share with you some more stuff that's more relevant, hopefully, to the work of the Palouse Care Network tonight. I'm deeply honored to be here, and especially to hear about the wonderful work that's going on. It's actually quite sad in my country. Many people point to Americans and they say, look, they just care about restricting women. They don't care about the women themselves. They don't care about helping people in difficulty. They don't care about vulnerable children. And sometimes this even comes from Christians. They say, look, we don't want to get into this abortion stuff because we don't want to be like America where they're just angry people shouting about abortion and not really helping women. And I say to them, do you actually know what the pro-life movement in America looks like? Did you know that there are 3,000 centers across America dedicated entirely to helping women and fathers and children in difficult situations? That is an example to the entire world. There is no other country in the entire world that has anything like the pregnancy help movement of your country. And so I always passionately defend you. You're welcome. Because really, your work is inspiring. I also defend you to make up for the time we attacked you in 1812. So I hope that makes up for it. I'm here for a few main reasons. So the first is to convince you that not everyone from Oxford is in fact a hobbit, but I feel like I've already failed in that. The second and more speculative is to try and impart some useful information from my research that can be helpful in your conversations. And the third is to encourage you, because I sincerely believe from the bottom of my heart that the American pregnancy help movement, including what you're doing here in Washington and Idaho, is an inspiration that is unrivaled anywhere else in the world. It truly ranks up there with the finest achievements in American history, with the Constitution, with the moon landing, and with Waffle House. Now, I know you don't really have Waffle House in the Northwest, and that's a great shame. I feel really sorry for you, but hopefully one day they will start franchises up in this part of the country. Now, I don't say this lightly because in England, we very rarely make grandiose claims. Indeed, we rarely say anything at all. They say that the way to distinguish an extrovert from an introvert in England is that an extrovert is someone who looks at the other person's shoes when they're talking to them. I think it probably tells you everything you need to know about the English, that we invented probably more words than almost any other language or any other culture in history, and yet we're too snobby to actually use any of them with another person. But when we do speak, we dare not say anything that might actually mean something. My wife is always hounding me about this. She's from Scotland. I always thought this was a British thing, but it turns out it's a specifically English thing. She says, you just never ever say what you actually think. And so I want to give you some examples, because I was recently speaking in the Netherlands, and I looked online. When I go to a different country, I try to learn some of the phrases and try to understand some of the language so I can at least say please and thank you and hello and things like that. And so I came across this translation guide from Dutch phrases to English, or rather English phrases to Dutch. And here are a couple of examples. When the British say, you must come for dinner, what the Dutch hear is, I will soon get an invitation. But what the British mean is, I hope I never see you again. When a British person says, that's interesting, what the Dutch hear is, they are impressed with me. But what the British actually mean is, I think you are an idiot. Now, I was a bit nervous about saying this because it would probably give the impression that everything I'm about to say is untrue. But on the contrary, I want to emphasize that when I praise the American pregnancy help movement and what you're doing here at the Palouse Care Network, when I say that it's up there with the moon landing and Waffle House, it is a big, big deal. So let me be very un-English for a moment and say it clearly, that the work done here by all of you, not just the people on the front lines, but by all of you through your prayers and your support and your encouragement is genuinely world-changing, and I'm proud to be here. So let me get to my aims of today's talk. When I went to medical school, I was pro-choice like 95% of my country. Only 5% of my country is pro-life. This is a tiny, tiny minority, and it's very hard to make any traction. But I was convinced when I went to medical school by the reality of life in the womb, by seeing the reality of abortion, and in particular the impact that abortion has, not only on the child, but also on the mother and the father. I was confronted with this reality. And so today I want to share with you some of what changed my mind and turned me from a fairly average pro-choice person to an advocate for life, traveling the world speaking about this issue. I want to say a little bit about the mental health impact of abortion on a woman, and then also share with you some of the latest research in the development of the child in the womb that we've learned over the last couple of decades. So let's start with mental health. There are a few things that we need to establish here because we're increasingly hearing, especially since the overturning of Roe v. Wade, that abortion is healthcare, that it is about establishing women's health and protecting women's health. And in fact, nothing could be further from the truth. In my country, technically, according to the law, we only have abortion for health reasons. You can't actually get abortion on demand in my country, but in practice, almost any abortion is allowed because a woman will say, this would affect my mental health, and therefore she can have an abortion. So the question then arises, is abortion really good for a woman's mental health, or is it neutral, or is it actually damaging to a woman's mental health? Well, I want to share with you the evidence on this question to show you that abortion is not healthcare, it is actually the opposite. And not only because it ends the life of a child, but even for the woman, she, on average, suffers from abortion as well. Now, what's the first fact? Well, the first fact, this comes from the leading researcher on abortion and mental health in the world. He passed away, sadly, a few years ago. His name was Professor David Ferguson. He was a professor in New Zealand, which is a very liberal country, very pro-abortion. They recently, in effect, legalized abortion up until birth. But he was pro-choice himself. He said, I think this is a woman's right. If a woman wants an abortion, she should be allowed to get one. But he said, we have to be honest about the scientific evidence, about whether abortion is really good medicine, regardless of whether it is a woman's right. And he said it is not. He said, in fact, at the present time, there is no credible scientific evidence demonstrating that abortion has mental health benefits. No credible scientific evidence. This is remarkable because we hear constantly that abortion is good for a woman's mental health, even aside from the physical health. This was the world's leading researcher. He was agreed by everyone in this field to have the best research, and he was pro-choice. And he still said there is no evidence that abortion has mental health benefits. In fact, he went further. He found that when a woman has an abortion for an unwanted pregnancy, if you compare the same groups of women, women with an unwanted pregnancy, with the same background economically and mental health-wise, women who have abortions have a 30% increased risk of anxiety, a 70% increased risk of suicidal behavior, a 130% increased risk of alcohol abuse, and a 300% increased risk of drug abuse. Now, these are some of the most fundamental problems affecting any society. It's not just about the woman, though, of course, she will suffer immensely from these things. Any society and family will suffer from suicide, from drug abuse, from alcohol abuse. So when people tell you that this is just an issue between a woman and her doctor, well, first, of course, they ignore the unborn child. Secondly, they think that this is good for the woman. And thirdly, they ignore the fact that this has consequences throughout society, throughout the family, and even for multiple future generations that will be harmed by this. Now, what's most remarkable is that David Ferguson was even asked by the abortion committee of his government not to publish his research. They said, if you publish your research, pro-lifers might use it. And David Ferguson, all credit to him as someone who disagrees with us morally on this issue, said, we have to be honest scientists. I'm going to publish this evidence, whether you like it or not. And we have to be thankful to people of integrity, even in our opposition, like that, who will be honest about the impact of abortion. Well, secondly, we know that negative emotions such as guilt are extremely common after abortion. Most women who have an abortion do not have a clear clinical condition as a result. They don't develop clear depression as a result of abortion or clear suicidal tendencies and so on. Most women do not have a clinical condition after abortion. But a significant minority do, thousands and thousands, millions throughout the history of abortion in America. But most women do suffer serious negative emotional consequences as a result of abortion. What he found was that 64% of women in New Zealand, a very liberal country that supports abortion, even there, 64% of women felt guilt about their abortion, and 34% said that they felt a great deal of guilt. 71% felt sadness, and 48% felt grief or loss. 61% said that they did not feel satisfied at all with their abortion, even if they said that it was the right decision. Now, this means, according to the standard classification in medicine, that these things are very common. There's actually an official definition of very common in medicine. It sounds like a strange thing, but it means if more than 10% of patients have a consequence of a procedure, it is counted as very common. So we can say officially, and according to the best evidence from New Zealand, that sadness, guilt, and many other negative emotions are very common after abortion. And that is actually a stone-cold fact. It cannot really be reasonably disputed by anyone. Well, fact 3, post-traumatic stress disorder is common after abortion. In fact, it's very common. Post-traumatic stress disorder is a particularly helpful thing to know about because we can tie it specifically to a trauma. With most other conditions like depression or anxiety, it's always possible that the woman would have had depression or anxiety regardless of the abortion. You can never say for certain that it results from the abortion. But because post-traumatic stress disorder, by definition, is tied to something stressful or traumatic, we can say for sure that it is definitely caused by abortion. And the evidence shows, again, putting pro-life and pro-choice studies together, that this happens somewhere between 1 to 15% of abortions. What that means is that every year there are thousands and thousands and thousands of women across America who develop post-traumatic stress disorder that is absolutely certainly a result of their abortion. It might even be 10 times that number. It might be more than 100,000 or even higher. This is a very common complication, and of course, women in that situation deserve our compassion rather than to be gaslit by being told that their trauma wasn't really a trauma. It was them being liberated. Well, fact number 4. This is perhaps the most incredible, but this comes from the Turnaway study. Some of you will have heard about the Turnaway study. This was a big study from San Francisco over the last 10 years, where a group of wildly pro-abortion researchers studied the impact on women of being denied an abortion. They studied women who go to get an abortion and they're told, no, you can't have one, and they study what happens to the woman afterwards. And the entire purpose of this study was to show that if a woman cannot get an abortion, she will be devastated as a result, emotionally, psychiatrically, financially, relationally, and in many other ways. That was the entire purpose of the study. This is where the famous sort of statistic comes from, that 95% of women don't regret having an abortion. Many of you may have heard that statistic. Well, the same study showed a number of things about women's mental health after abortion, and it's really quite remarkable. One of those findings is that 70% of women who could not get an abortion ended up keeping the baby and giving birth. So many people will tell you that abortion restrictions don't work, that the law doesn't stop anyone from getting an abortion. And this pro-abortion study, the major pro-abortion study of this country in the last 20 years, explicitly says that 70% of women who cannot get an abortion end up keeping their child. Well, the researcher said, okay, fine, we've proven kind of by accident that the law does actually work. That means that the law in Idaho protecting women and children from abortion is working, and it is saving hundreds or thousands of lives. But the researcher said, well, okay, the law works, but it will cause devastation for women. And that is the real issue. Yes, some babies will be born, but the woman comes first, and she will be devastated as a result. Well, what did they find? Well, several intervals after the denial of the abortion, they followed up with the woman to ask, do you wish you could still get an abortion? Well, they found just a week after being denied an abortion, 35% of women already said, I don't really want an abortion, and I want to continue my pregnancy. That reinforces just how important this work is at the Palouse Care Network. That within a week of being denied an abortion, a third of women no longer wish they could have an abortion. These are not 100% determined women going to get an abortion who have no other things in mind. These are women who are genuinely undecided and with a bit of support and compassionate care would genuinely prefer to keep their babies. So when people say they're pro-choice and they try to get rid of the choice of giving birth for women, that is really no choice at all. Well, what about at 5 years? On the child's 5th birthday, they asked the woman, do you wish you could still have had an abortion? And 98% said no. 98% of women who were refused an abortion, or if you believe the language of the media, who had their rights trampled over, who had health care denied to them, 98% of those women who kept the baby said, I'm glad I did not have the abortion. Now, what this shows is that abortion is not ultimately necessary for women's well-being and fulfillment. What is really needed is time and support and compassionate care. Well, this is a quote from the Turnaway researchers, or the lead researcher. She said, I expected when I began the study that raising a child that one wasn't planning to have might be associated with depression or anxiety. But this is not what we've found over the long run. Women are resilient to the experience, at least in terms of their mental health. Women's symptoms of depression and anxiety are slowly relieved following an unplanned or unwanted pregnancy, regardless of how that pregnancy ends. Mental health rarely seems to suffer even when abortion is denied. Most of the women turned away over time reported that they were happy they had the baby. She then goes on to quote a variety of such women directly. One of those women said, the baby is just everything to me. Another said that it was terrifyingly bad timing, but yet they were relieved that what happened, happened. and it broke my heart that I ever thought about abortion in the first place. Another said that her life before the pregnancy was absolutely crazy, and she was angry when she was denied an abortion. But she later said that having that child was, quote, the best experience of my life, that made her a better person and provided unparalleled intimacy that she had never had before. She said if she did not have her baby, she would have died from drugs or recklessness. Now, these are stories coming not from pregnancy centers, not from the pro-life movement, not from priests or pastors. These are stories coming from pro-abortion researchers who have a vested interest in hiding these stories. If even they are compelled to share these women's testimonies to say that without abortion, these women still flourished and succeeded and were happy with their children, how much more is the reality that women are resilient and strong and with the right support and care will be happy they have their baby and nothing else will compare to that. Well, there are countless other stories like this that I won't go into because we don't have too much time. Well, that's the stuff on mental health. But what about this research that I promised on the development of the baby in the womb? Well, one of the things that struck me the most during my time at medical school when I became pro-life was how clearly the narrative constructed by abortion advocates conflicted with the basic reality of medical science that I learned in medical school. When I was told that no one knows when life begins, I knew that this wasn't true because I studied medicine and I knew that a life begins at fertilization. In fact, a study from just the last few years studied 5,500 biologists across the world and asked them, when does an individual human organism begin to exist? And of those 5,500 biologists, 95% said fertilization is when a life begins to exist. This is not a philosophical opinion, it's not a religious dogma, it's not a personal opinion. This is a scientific fact. And when you take away the drama and the politics of abortion, there is an overwhelming scientific consensus that this is when life begins. So I knew that this was not true, that nobody knows when life begins. I knew that this wasn't a clump of cells because I studied embryology. There was one particular moment in medical school that it hit home particularly to me. We were doing a cesarean section on my obstetrics placement, and we were doing a cesarean section of twin babies. Now, this is extremely surreal. I don't know how many of you have done a cesarean section. Probably a few more of you have had a cesarean section. It really is a profound and visceral experience where you really just mechanically push the babies out and then pull them out. And because in this case there were twin babies, there was a moment where we pulled the first baby out, and we could see the baby lying there, a human being, a person with rights. I could see their twin brother or sister still inside their mother's tummy, and according to the law in that country, I was in New Zealand, that exact same thing in the womb was meaningless. It had no rights, it was not a human being, it was just a clump of cells. I could see the babies, one outside the womb, one inside the womb, and I was supposed to believe that one of these was a human being and a person with all the same rights as you and me, and the other was a clump of cells that could have their life ended if it was inconvenient. That just didn't make sense to me. So what I want to do, just in closing, is share with you some of the most incredible research that we found in the last few years about how quickly the baby develops. Well, the first thing is that the heart begins to beat. We used to think at 3 weeks, at 21 days, but recent research from my own university in Oxford suggests that just 16 days after fertilization, the baby's heart begins to beat. Just 2 weeks and 2 days. That means that almost every abortion ends a beating heart of a child. Well, at 4 to 5 weeks, the baby begins to move by herself. At 6 weeks, the baby has recordable, coordinated brainwaves. At 7 weeks, the baby can hiccup and suck and swallow. And at 9 weeks, the baby can yawn. Now, this might seem slightly strange because they spend almost all of their time in the womb sleeping. But in fact, I think most of us will relate to that. In fact, now we're talking about yawning. Some of you will probably yawn in the next 10 seconds because it's very contagious. I can actually see a couple of you, so I called it. You thought you had free will, but you're actually just ChatGPT with arms and legs. Well, we know that the baby can probably feel pain from 10 weeks. This was from a study by a pro-choice researcher just a couple of years ago, but we don't know for certain when that begins, but we think 10 weeks is quite likely. By 12 weeks, babies can even interact socially with each other. Now, how could we possibly know this? I'm not saying that if you put two pregnant women next to each other, you'll start hearing them arguing. We know that babies can sort of interact in a very minimal social way because in the womb, a baby moves their arms around like this. But when they move their arms towards their eyes, they slow down to protect themselves. Well, what researchers have found a few years ago is that when you have twin babies in the womb, they move their arms around like this, but when they move towards their twin brother or sister, they slow down to protect them. This is at just 12 weeks after fertilization, in the first half of pregnancy. So when the Bible says that Jacob and Esau were fighting in the womb, that was actually unusual. Normally they look after each other. But if unborn babies that are barely conscious and the size of maybe a peanut can protect each other in the womb, how much more could we and should we stand up for them as well? Well, at 14 weeks, if you sing the baby a song, it will actually move its mouth and tongue in response, trying to sing along. And at 15 weeks, the baby actually can taste food that the mother has eaten, and they can even remember those foods and tastes, and they prefer to eat that food after birth. So it's a very practical tip that if you want your baby to like Waffle House, eat Waffle House during pregnancy. If you don't want your baby to like Waffle House, then shame on you. Another practical tip is that later in pregnancy, babies can actually learn songs and poems, and they learn the melodies and they recognize them, and they actually are more likely to stop crying if you sing them after birth. So again, I'm not going to say that there's an obvious choice, though of course the obvious choice is Justin Bieber. But if you make a mistake, they will even notice. So there's already a lot of pressure with singing, but if you make a mistake, even the baby will notice that you made a mistake. Are there any Justin Bieber fans in here, by the way? Okay, so there's like 3 genuine Justin Bieber fans, and probably about 300 people in denial. There was another study about 15 years ago, which makes it almost as old as your country, that studied babies' ability to hear accents in the womb. And we now know that babies can even learn and remember their mother's accent and voice and language in the womb and distinguish it from others. In fact, there was a study that found that as soon as French babies are born, they cry in a French accent. And as soon as German babies are born, they cry in a German accent. As soon as American babies are born, they sing the Stars and Stripes. I have no idea what this sounds like. You can probably imagine, you can do the imitation of a German newborn baby in your own time. I don't know if any of you have done any of those DNA tests where you learn your heritage and where you're from. I did one about a year ago, and it came out that I was 2% French and German, which I guess confirms the biblical wisdom that all have fallen short of the glory of God. So finally, this is one of the most remarkable things we've learnt in recent decades. You sometimes hear people say that the baby is a parasite. They just take from the mother without giving anything back. Now, of course, that's nonsense because parasites are different species. There are many reasons this is biologically untrue. But one of them is that it's simply not true that the baby doesn't contribute to the mother. What we've actually learnt is that from just a few weeks after fertilization, the baby creates stem cells. Many of you might remember the big sort of debate about stem cells under the Bush administration, where there was these huge promises that stem cell research would allow us to cure every disease under the sun. Of course, it didn't really materialize that way, but we were told that stem cells were these magic cells that could heal any disease if we researched them enough. Well, what not many people know is that the babies themselves produce stem cells, And they already send those cells throughout their mother's body to repair the mother from any disease that she might have. They can go to the heart to repair after a heart attack. They can go to the skin to repair skin wounds. They can go to the liver to heal hepatitis. They even surveil against certain types of cancer. They seem to protect against Alzheimer's disease. And they stick around for years or decades, sometimes even going to the mother's brain. Now, what that means is something quite profound, that there are many women who, whether they've given birth or maybe even had a miscarriage or an abortion, will still have cells from their unborn baby in their brain for the rest of their life, contributing to their thinking. It's really a profound thought and a beautiful image that this is not a relationship of a parasite and a host. This is a symbiosis, a unique biological relationship between a mother and her child. So I want to wrap up with what I hope are some words of encouragement. Does anyone else passionate about life or even working in pro-life advocacy or support feel like things have got twice as hard since Roe v. Wade was overturned because of all the backlash? I know many of my friends have felt that way, even in Europe, where there's been a fierce backlash in the last 2 years. We see many problems still to this day. I know Washington State allows abortion up to 24 to 26 weeks, which means that Washington State has a more extreme abortion law than every single country in Europe. A more extreme abortion law than Iceland or Sweden or Denmark or some of the most radical pro-abortion countries in the world. We've seen ballot initiative after ballot initiative be lost on the pro-life side, in large part due to misinformation about denying women health care. We've seen, even in the past couple of days, and I won't get too political, but we've seen very discouraging words from some of the leading presidential candidates and their wives who are supposed to be on our side and who have come out in support of abortion. That's not to say vote one way or don't vote one way. You can ask me how I would recommend afterwards. But it is to say that our leaders are not doing a good enough job. We might still vote for the lesser evil. Again, I won't say whether to or not. But our leaders should be doing better. This is discouraging for everyone in the life movement. This is a difficult time. And so what I want to share just in closing is an encouragement to keep going, to keep holding your leaders accountable, and to keep doing the work on the ground, showing that we care. As a fellow hobbit once said, "There is some good in this world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for. Amidst all the darkness, there is so much good to fight for." From a global perspective, the majority of the world's population is pro-life. You are not alone. You are part of a global family fighting for life, and you are in the majority around the world. But we've seen how quickly this can change. In 2013, just 37% of Ireland said that they supported abortion. 5 years later, in 2018, 66% of Ireland voted for abortion, including 85% of young people. Around the world, dozens and dozens of countries, about 120 of them, face the same trend in the next 10 years if we don't equip them to advocate for life and preserve their cultures. So I'm just not going to spend long on this, but if you want to know more about our international work and why I'm around the world so much, not just in my own country, please feel free to ask me or go to my website. These QR codes I didn't put together. I have no idea about tech, so I have no idea if they actually take you to my website. There's an equally good chance they take you to the Trump and Vance campaign website. But nevertheless, if you want to know more about that, see my website. I also have a Q&A where if you want to know any answer on abortion, questions about mental health, about physical health, about abortion laws, about the impact on women, about the science of embryology, I've got about 100 questions answered on my blog, which you're very welcome to use however it might be useful to you. They're hopefully very helpful for engaging in conversations with your friends, your colleagues, and the people you come into contact with. Enough about me, back to you. Let's focus on the work being done here. People doing what is right have always experienced resistance, pain, and grief. The slave trade reigned unchecked for centuries across the entire Western world, and even just a few years before it was finally abolished, it seemed absolutely hopeless. But there were people like William Wilberforce who kept fighting despite their sorrow and their discouragement. William Wilberforce saw the abolition of slavery just days before he died. But some of his closest allies never saw it at all and never knew the fruit of their work. John Wesley, the famous hymn writer, wrote to Wilberforce in 1791, 6 days before John Wesley's death and years before the slave trade was finally abolished, when things still seemed completely hopeless. And he said to Wilberforce, John Newton said to William Wilberforce, "Unless God has raised you up for this very thing, you will be worn out by the opposition of men and devils. But if God is for you, then who can be against you? Are all of them not stronger? All of them together stronger than God? Oh, be not weary of well-doing." Be not weary of well-doing. That is our call for today. Christians have been serving the needy for 2,000 years, and in fact, in the early years of the church, they were so well known for it that people would leave their children abandoned outside churches because they knew that that was the only place that the children would be cared for. Now, please don't mistake me. I am not saying that you should leave your children at church on Sunday. Please take them with you. Your church leaders don't want them. The early church writer Ambrose wrote about St. Lawrence, who was a deacon in the Church of Rome in the 3rd century during a time of intense persecution of the church under the Emperor Valerian. The Emperor Valerian was persecuting Christians, and so Lawrence was asked to round up the entire treasure of the church and to give it to the emperor in tribute. And so when the time came to present the treasure of the church in tribute, Lawrence rounded up all the poor and the needy of the city. And when he was asked, "Where is your treasure?" that he promised, he pointed to the needy people in the city and said, "These are the treasures of the church." Now, I know how much the women you serve mean to you and mean to us. Though, of course, they come from a wide range of socioeconomic backgrounds, and financial difficulties are far from the only problem that women in difficulty have. But these women are our treasures. We believe in family. We believe not just in children, but in every human being and human equality. That is why we are pro-life. We believe that no woman should be forced to choose between their future and their child. And thanks to organizations like yours, that is the reality for women in this area. At the same time, I think the story of St. Lawrence has a different meaning for us, that all of you working on the front lines are the treasures of the pro-life movement. Without you, those of us who work in advocacy or in politics or, in these sort of harsher areas or the more hostile areas, without you, all of our advocacy is useless. It all starts here. Because ultimately, the reason we are losing these ballot initiatives across America and even across the world is because people do not trust us. They do not believe that pro-life people really care for women and children together. And you are the answer to that. You are the only way that we can restore that trust and build that trust and end up with an abortion-free America and an abortion-free world. And because of the work done here in the Palouse, in the US and across the world, we can say that there is hope. Benjamin Franklin once popularized the claim that only two things are certain in this world, death and taxes. But if he lived a couple of centuries later and saw the reality of America today, he might have said there are three certain things in this world: death, taxes, and pro-lifers who are there for women in their time of need. So nothing that you do is in vain. To every single woman and baby saved by all of you, not just the people on the front lines, but all of you who are encouraging and supporting this ministry, to every single woman and baby that you save, you have made literally the world of difference. That is far more than can be said for so many people in this world. Your work is genuinely life-changing, and not just once, but many, many times. In a world full of skepticism and indifference, and even hostility towards pro-lifers, where all people see is apathy and pain, and they cry out to the pro-life movement and they scream, "Show us that you really care." Our answer to that cry is sitting in front of me right now. It is you. So thank you, and thank you. And God bless you.
My name is Colette, and I grew up in California. I came up to Washington State for school, and I'm still in school, still doing that. Being a mom has become like my identity now. I couldn't imagine this being my life a year ago, but now I can't imagine my life being anything but this. And it's just truly a blessing being able to sit here today with a healthy baby. My partner and I had just broken up a week before I found out I was pregnant. And so I kind of was super sick, and I thought maybe it was just me being sad. And then the sickness wasn't getting any better, and I was throwing up a lot. So I took a pregnancy test and I found out I was pregnant. I didn't think I could ever get pregnant due to health reasons, and I have PCOS. So I assumed that I could never have kids. I always knew that potentially adoption was something I wanted to do later in life, but I didn't think I could ever get pregnant. And so I just kind of went through life not thinking this was a possibility for me. I always thought that if I did get pregnant, I probably would have gone the abortion route. And then you're faced with that decision and everything kind of changes. It's a lot harder to make that decision when you're in it. I was talking with my mom, and because abortion was what I had originally planned, that's kind of what we were talking about at first. And I just weighed my options and ultimately decided that I couldn't face myself if I didn't keep him. I would have spiraled into a really bad place and a really dark place if I had done an abortion. I talked to friends who've had abortions, and they were all kind of just it's not worth it. They were just saying that it kind of leaves a hole in your heart, and seeing people with babies, they felt like they should be a mom and they knew that that should be their life, and it really hurt them that it wasn't. And then the physical trauma too, you're scared to have sex again, you're scared to do things again, be intimate with another person because you don't want to potentially go through that again. And one of my friends has had multiple abortions, and she was forced into one of them by the man she was with at the time. She regrets it to this day. She should be a mom, and she knows that. And talking to her helped me solidify my decision to keep my pregnancy and pray for a healthy baby. I talked to my OBs and I talked to my chiropractor, Dr. Via, and they both recommended Palouse Care Network, Wish Medical. And I didn't realize there was this side of it, the pregnancy center side of it with the Earn While You Learn classes and all of that stuff. I was just coming here to kind of weigh my options, talk to people about what I could do. I ended up meeting with Janet and Kathleen the first time I came in, and I thought it was going to be a quick appointment, and it ended up being an hour or something of us just talking and getting to know one another.
Colette was very interested in truth, really realistic and introspective, self-introspective, and honest with herself. She took the class that I facilitate, Healthy Pregnancy, and so we began to work on a healthy pregnancy, exactly that. And she often wanted to stay after class and visit about issues that were relevant to her. She had been attending a church and had an open attitude toward the Lord, but hadn't decided whether she in fact was a believer or not. So in the process of these healthy pregnancy classes, we worked on anything in the Bible that was relevant to her pregnancy. And one thing that Colette began to do is pray like crazy. She prayed about everything because every concern is a giant concern when you're a new mom.
What I liked the most was that it's faith-based here, but you guys aren't like pushing the faith onto people if they don't align with the Christian beliefs or they have other spirituality. It's very much like, this is what we believe and we talk about it, but we're not gonna like force it upon you. I remember talking to Janet after one of my first classes and kind of just being like, where in the Bible should I start reading? And she said the book of John was really great. And so I started reading the book of John, and that helped a lot. And I would read the Bible like out loud because I knew he could hear me at a certain point. So like it was like us reading together and stuff. I didn't grow up very religious. So for me, being with my partner, that opened a door into church and everything for me. And then coming here and getting pregnant really had me fully believing in God and Jesus and furthering my relationship with that. Shelley, Kathleen, and Janet have all sat down and prayed with me. And I just remember feeling so loved and cared about in those moments. And I remember this one time I kind of just felt like a presence behind me. And I feel like that was just like God or Jesus with me in that moment, just standing behind me in the room. It's the first time I've ever felt something like that. And so it just felt really powerful, and I haven't felt that presence leave since that day.
It was liberating for her to have the trust in the Lord, not in a person. And it was sort of a confirmation of her own processes and thought processes, that it wasn't just Colette. And so I really enjoyed watching that journey with her.
I promised myself that I would still get my degree and my dreams wouldn't be overlooked just because I was becoming a mother. I've always wanted to work with animals ever since I was literally 5. I knew I wanted to be in some sort of professional field working with animals. So that has always been my dream, and you can't really make money on that unless you have a degree. So getting a degree is really important to me, and staying in school. And I feel like it also sets an example for him, and just knowing that like you can do anything despite what life throws at you. Doing it alone was really hard. I don't have family up here either. So like building a community, finding a community was really difficult, but that's what this place helped with. Meeting Janet, Shelley, Kathleen, everyone, getting their help, the classes, the Single Moms event that helped me find a community and not feel so alone. I was really stressed about like financially getting everything and providing for him. And doing the Earn While You Learn classes, you get like points, and those can go towards certain things. And then you guys also have stuff, a lot of stuff for free. Not having to stress about getting a car seat and a stroller was really amazing. To this day, if I need anything, I know I can call and you guys will find a way to get me what I need. And I don't know how I would have done it had it not been for this place. It truly has changed everything for me. And
watching her come to the Lord and have confidence that she now had a superior ally in life. That's just been a highlight, because she does trust the Lord, and she's had a lot of rocky things to go through, and I see the hand of God in her life, the trust that she has, calm her, assist her, guide her, and that's just been a highlight to watch her succeed.
People always say that you don't really respect your mother until you become one, and I think that's like extremely true. Just the way you can love someone so much without even meeting them. Like my whole pregnancy, I'm just like so in love with him, and I didn't even know him yet. And now him being here, it's been 2 months, and it's just the most like magical experience for me. It's something I never thought I'd be able to do. So like sitting here today with a beautiful, healthy baby, it's just the biggest blessing in the world. And just being able to love someone so much, it's just the craziest feeling. Yeah.
We are very privileged to have Colette and her darling baby Anders here with us tonight. She told me on her way in this evening that he laughed for the first time today. And Colette, would you please stand so that we can honor you and your bravery? Mm-hmm. You are a gift, and your son is a gift. And we are here with you and for you for the long haul. Thank you for your vulnerability and sharing your beautiful story with us. So, how is God calling you to meet her where she is? I don't know the answer to that question, but I trust that if you ask him, he will tell you how he's calling you to care for these beloved women and their children. Perhaps he's calling you to pray. My prayer is that God would bring us more women and more unborn children to love. And that we could truly be channels of his love for them. And I ask you, would you join me in that prayer? We are starting up, excuse me, I need some water. What happened? Thank you. Daughter to the rescue. I might need more water. We are starting a prayer team during our mobile clinic hours of operation. And you can actually sign up to be praying while we are out there with our mobile clinic. And if that is something that God is calling you to do, we would love to have you be a part of that prayer team ministry. We know that apart from Christ, we can do nothing. And so your prayers are absolutely vital to this ministry. I just also want to ask you to pray for the clients and the staff that we have been recently seeing. Not only has God been bringing more women who are considering abortion to us, he's been bringing a lot of additional, really challenging, heartbreaking situations to us. We've been seeing minor clients, transgender clients, client who was considers herself a witch and was raped by her father, client who's doing porn to put her way through college, clients who are suffering all kinds of sexual assault. And please pray for these clients that are coming, and please pray for our staff as they carry the burden of caring for these clients, seeking to love them well. And I also wonder if perhaps God is calling you to make a financial gift. God has been so good. He's been so good to us. He's brought us amazing buildings. He's brought us an incredible mobile clinic. And he's brought us an ultrasound machine. He's brought us Dr. Calum Miller. He's been so faithful again and again and again. And lately, he's bringing so many clients. We are so, so grateful. And so I trust that he is going to bring us all that we need to do the work that he is calling us to. Are you called to be a part of that? We know that we can't do what we do without you. So I will let you know that our annual budget is about $850,000 a year. And that's going to need to go up this year because of the increased staff that we need to hire, because of the increase in clients that we are seeing, and because of the ongoing cost of operating our mobile medical clinic. And so last year, this event raised $120,000. And I am boldly asking for $200,000 tonight, because that is what is needed to enable us to continue the work that God has called us to. And so I encourage you tonight to prayerfully ask what God is calling you to give. And if you would please make either a one-time or a recurring monthly donation to the work of Palouse Care Network, we promise that we will seek to be faithful stewards of what you have given us and continue to look for new ways of reaching and loving women in our community who are in need. So I'm going to invite you to take that envelope on the center of your tables. It's got some donation forms inside. I would love it if you could pull those out and fill it out. You can also scan the QR code that's on there. Oh, you know what? I forgot to tell you one other thing, because I was coughing and choking here. I'm also wondering if God might be calling you to be a sidewalk advocate. And we have our next Sidewalk Advocate training that's coming up on Wednesday, October 16th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We also feed you a really fabulous lunch. If you're called to be out on the sidewalk, I encourage you to consider that as well. It will enable us to be out on the sidewalk for more hours if we have more people who are trained. So you can take out this donation form, fill it out. You can also scan the QR code. If you are interested in being part of our prayer team, or if you are interested in sidewalk advocacy training, and by the way, there's no obligation. If you come to the training and you just want to learn the stuff and then not become a sidewalk advocate, that's totally fine. So if you are interested in that, please make a note of that in the comment section down at the bottom, and we will be in touch with you. And now I am going to invite our own Sarah Jennings. She's going to play some awesome music for you as you consider your donation tonight.
I love you, Lord. Oh, your mercy never fails me. And all my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You have led me through the fire, and in darkest nights, you are close like no other. I've known you as a father, I've known you as a friend, and I have lived in the goodness of God. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I'm surrendered now. I give you everything. 'Cause your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I'm surrendered now. I give you everything. 'Cause your goodness is running after, it's running after me. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Oh, I will sing of the goodness of my God. Oh, I will sing of the goodness of God.
Thank you to Sarah for sharing your gifts with us. Thank you to all of you for your generosity. Thank you, God. I'd like to now invite Pastor Joel Moore from Emmanuel Baptist Church in Pullman to come and offer our closing prayer tonight.
Let's pray together. God, how could we not be moved, Father, to life as the author and the creator and the sustainer, Father. And Lord, we know you offer it to eternity. Lord, we're so grateful for people who are on the front lines, who are on the bleeding edge, Lord. So we pray that you bless Palouse Care Network, Lord, that you protect them. Lord, that you ferret out the lies and you bring the truth to the front. As Christians, Lord, we know the truth finds its source in you, and we're not afraid. Lord, give us wisdom in giving, give us wisdom in praying, Lord, and volunteering. And Lord, bless this ministry. Lord, for those precious babies, but also for those precious moms. Lord, we're grateful. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you and good night.